Can you talk about the complicity of Republican lawmakers? And is that something you also witness in other autocracies?
So this is something I've written about. Actually, I wrote an article in 2020 that was about that I based on a lot, many conversations, and also some history. I think The Atlantic is the only magazine on the planet that would have. I started it with sort of like 1,000 words about two East Germans, but you have to read the article. It's called "History Will Judge the Complicit" or something like that. Um, and one of this is of course something you see in other countries, and one of the lessons you learn when you look at history is that actually in history most people collaborate. When I was working on that article, I went to see Marion Bertler, who's a former East German dissident. Later, she ran the Stasi archive, which was their secret police archive after the reunification of Germany. And I asked her this question. I said, "Well, let's talk about who conformed and why." And she looked at me. She was like, "What are you talking about? Everybody conformed." Once the rules of the system had been set up so that if you wanted a job and you wanted housing and you wanted your kid to go to university and you wanted your mother-in-law to get medicine at the hospital, then you did what the regime told you to do. And unfortunately, that will happen. I mean, when the rules change, and this is what could happen in the civil service, either you will conform to the rules and you will say what they tell you to say about whatever, about DEI or climate or, whatever they're using as their purity test or their loyalty test. If you don't conform, then you will be expelled. I mean, has always been harder for me to explain in the case of elected politicians, especially senators, because they're elected for 6 years. They have a lot of, power. Nobody can remove them. They are, what's the worst thing that could happen to them? The worst thing is they don't get reelected and then they have to teach at the Harvard Kennedy School. It's not like it's not like they're going to jail or, they'll be tortured or murdered if they don't do what Trump says. And yet we've even among that group of people, we see this extraordinary willingness to conform, to ignore the Constitution, to let Trump do what he wants, to confirm Trump's completely, off the rails inappropriate cabinet nominations.